Sure thing. So yeah, thank you for joining this session. This is going to be a discussion. So we're going to be talking with Marlene Saucier and Saira Sethi, and I think Bridget's coming back as well. But it's going to be a chance to really just discuss, what we're talking about in general. What the motto is for today is work that you're capable of and have potential for. So it's not, again, just finding, a job. It's finding what's really going to resonate with you and what you want to do, what you can do, and how that can work.
Yeah.
So I will kick it over to you all.
Perfect. Marlene, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marlene Saucier. I am a vice president at Judge Learning Solutions. We are a provider of learning talent and custom learning solutions. And really, really excited to be here. This is my second Learning and Development Cares Career Growth Summit. A little about me, I am based in Massachusetts. I've been in the staffing and talent acquisition industry for, goodness, almost 22 years. 17 of those years have been focused on learning and development. So excited to join you guys this week, and thanks for having me, Liz.
So excited that you are here, honestly. I think that, like you said, it's interesting too that we've had that aspect of the Career Growth Summit 1 as opposed to now the Career Growth Summit 2. And, here, how have we grown also in kind of that perspective of looking at people's potentials? Yeah, so wonderful. I love it. Sarah. So one thing, and then Sarah, love it.
Thank you, Liz. Once again, a very good morning or good afternoon, good evening. I know somebody logged in from Tokyo, so I don't even know what time it is over there, but it's amazing to see so many people log in across the globe. So having been a job seeker across different, parts of my life and journey in different parts of the globe, I resonate very closely with this topic itself, and that's what called me so closely to the Career Growth Summit and the preface of what L&D Cares is all about. And I live in New York. I lived in India, in Singapore, worked across different roles. I started my career in the airline industry, went into retail, and now here I am working in L&D. So as you can see, it's like a caterpillar into a butterfly. I've really evolved myself into different roles. And that's what I'm here to share today, that it's all about the mindset, who you interact with, and you have to believe that skills are always transferable. Don't let anyone say that you can't do it. You have to believe that for yourself. And that's what I'd like to say.
I love it. Thank you, Sarah. Love it. Okay, Bridget, sorry about that. So Bridget coming in. So you guys will notice that she's going to be toggling like a master. So she has an account that says L&D Cares host, and then she has an account that actually has her name on it. So she is now, apologize for that. Wonderful to see you, Bridget.
Oh, thank you. And I do want to say, Liz, that's one of your visions that we've called out continuously, is we're trying to become a little more nimble with technology. So here we go. We're doing it IRL, right?
Exactly.
For me, I'm just super glad to be here. I know that, like Saira, you just mentioned, oftentimes we just get that focus of, here's who I am, right? We've defined ourselves in a little box. It might be a big box, but it's hard for us to see outside of those lines. So again, our intention is to get your mind expanding a little bit. Here's some other perspectives of what other people have done to give you inspiration, right? We all each have our own journeys, and they're all very different, but we are all multifaceted. And even just like dexterity, becoming dexterous with our technology, we could all do things that we don't even know until we tap into it. So again, hopefully this provides some inspiration, but truly gives you some tangible takeaways to say, yeah, I think I'm going to explore that a little bit more or differently.
Mm-hmm. So well said. So, and I think, that aspect of what is that little box, it was funny yesterday, it couldn't have been better timing. So 3 years ago, I was coming back from a plane ride to Birmingham, England. as I was applying for an HR business partner. So my former role, I used to be a director of talent, and I'd worked in an organization for 9 years, and I had that beauty of job enlargement. We won't call it encroachment, but we'll call it enlargement. So I had, corporate social responsibility, I had talent, I had learning, I had, recruiting, and I had all these different areas, and employer branding, and I didn't know it was weird until I left. And so the only position that I was able to really find that had all of those aspects was HR business partner. So I flew to England and I applied for this position. And then on the way back, there was hurricanes and all sorts of crazy stuff that went on. So it took me a real adventure to get home. So I had plenty of time to think about, what am I doing here? I don't want to be an HR business partner. That's not where I can have an impact. That's not where I feel like I can grow around the things that I want to do. And it was for me such an important moment to say, Liz, you need to stop making a decision out of a desperation of this is what you're getting invited to as an interview, to really kind of take stock for myself to say, okay, but what do I want to do? Where can I make a difference? And where do I feel like, okay, this could be a position for me in which I can grow? And that was really a pivotal, because I then on April 1st, because, I wouldn't be Liz Lembke any other way on April Fool's Day. I had to say that has to be my day that I'm founding. I've told everybody else, you got to be brave. So I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 years. I'm going to be a freelance consultant, and I am going to learn as much as I can learn to really kind of figure out what is that impact that I want to make. And so for me, it's also very personal, this aspect of how are we helping each other get that bravery to say, okay, what is that next career step or career piece for us? Not only telling others, because we tend to focus a little bit on others. Yeah. So Marlene, give us a little bit of perspective, because you also made a brave move recently.
I did. I was with the same company for like 16 and a half years. Mm-hmm. And I started there in my 20s. I had, some significant staffing experience in my background, but, I kind of grew up in this organization that I love. I still love today. Made, lifetime friendships there. Mm-hmm. But ultimately I got to the point, where I wanted to kind of start running towards something a little bit different, where, I wasn't going to be managing people anymore, where I was going to be interacting directly with clients and with learning talent, and, just kind of make a name for myself as a grown-up somewhere else. Because I felt like I was still, everyone's little sister, and it's not a bad thing. It's, it's who I was. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity there. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I have now, and really looking forward to helping our clients and our talent as much as possible to find meaningful work and for great talent.
And that's so well said. I think it's funny that you said that. It's, when you start out, like I started out at this one place as a trainee, and even though I was there a couple of years, I was still the trainee. And, it's like, it's on the one hand, you have that comfort and you have that network, which is great. On the other hand, you also back to that, what Bridget was mentioning with those boxes or those silos and, kind of those pillars and frameworks, where it can at times be a little bit hard to say, okay, how do we progress beyond where we were when we just started? So yeah, and it's a brave step, and we do take those networks with us. So I always say we see each other multiple times, and I can't tell you how awesome it is to come back and meet people. I had someone from my when I was 16, so I worked at a World Forestry Center, and so my old boss there emailed me a picture of me with 16. So you always see your old bosses, so making sure they have some good relationships there. I love it.
100%. I still talk to my old boss every day. Every text. So.
I love it. I love it.
I love her to pieces.
I love it. Well, Bridget, you also just recently, you mentioned being here at the first Career Growth Summit, and then here you have also recently, very recently, started in your new next adventure. Can you take us through a couple of things that were important for you along that journey?
Absolutely. And I was going to call out with Marlene and Liz what you've both said. So this is perfect segue. Thank you. The opportunity is, that idea of, doing what we've done, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I know this is my sweet spot. I'm known for this, right? If you're the little sister, if you're the talent person, if you're the intern, versus, where you want to move into. Yeah. And I know, again, we've had conversations along the way that, there's practical too. We're living in this global pandemic. So sometimes you're doing something that's a stepping stone to get you to the next place. So I know for me in my career, I did a career change about 6 years ago. And again, with the networking, nothing bad or wrong. They were just opportunities I needed to experience to move me to where I am now. So yes, I believe this is, if I'm counting on my fingers, week 6. I'm in my new role at Skillsoft as a learning consultant. And I know, again, Liz and I, we talked along the way. Imagine that, planning an event together. But because I was just trying to really get an understanding of what the role did. And now that I'm in the role, I am really satisfied because it's really bringing all of those things. I just have this visual in my mind of all the places I've worked and the roles I've been in, how each thing prepared me for where I am now. And I know in my session, shameless plug, later this afternoon, or well, who knows, time zones. Later on, I know where it's called Mic Drop. And the reason it's called that is because it's being able to translate what we've done so someone else understands it, right? They're going, okay, well, we think you're kind of a nice person, but can you fit into this role? So for me, it's, it was a matter of encapsulating each of those experiences to say, hey, here's who I am. This is the shell that it comes in. Does this connect with your culture there? But then here's the tactical things that I do. Here are the data points, what I've already done. How can we move this together to create something that fits with your business need? Or is it not so much? Is this just another conversation along the way? So extremely valuable. That's been extremely valuable for me. Again, I'm going to definitely just promote the summit because it was through conversations, with Vanessa Rath, with Marlene, with different individuals, with MJ Hall from ATD National, helping me kind of move into that headspace of what do I want to do next? Not just, okay, repeat, recycle what I've already been doing.
Rinse, repeat, recycle. I think, okay, someone is probably tweeting that, right? Okay. It's the bravery to put something else entirely into that wash. I love it. Okay, and then Sarah, you are having a very exciting week this week.
Yes, indeed. But I'm going to say I love the hashtag brave because I think brave has been my motto. And I'm just going to say this, that for me, I always play the immigrant card because I've lived in so many different countries. There are always going to be challenges thrown at you. You're new here. You don't know anyone. So yeah, I do piggyback on all your ideas, networking. And one of the things I said, even when you don't have a job, find other things to do. For me, for instance, when I was in Singapore, I used to volunteer with a women's helpline service. When I moved to New York, I used to volunteer at a shelter. All these skills are also transferable. So don't, think out of the box. It doesn't have to be a job that you did. You just have to show people that you kept yourself occupied and into something that was your calling. What did you believe in? What did you learn from that experience? And, to Liz's point, I actually landed a job in the peak of a pandemic last year in April. And I was very, very grateful for that opportunity, learned a lot. But sometime along the line in October, I realized it wasn't a great fit. And I was like, wow, am I going to look for another job again in the peak of a pandemic? And I think the thing I said to myself is think out of love and not out of fear. So that's been my motto in the last few months. So whoever is the job seeker out there, you got to hang on to that faith that something will come your way. I know it takes a lot of patience, a lot of resilience. And I would say this, also make sure that you're hanging out with the right people who uplift you. Come to places like this. We're all here to motivate you and inspire you. So I think that makes a huge shift to your morale. There are so many events out there, so many platforms you can learn from. So that's what I would say.
I love it. And I think that is such who you hang out with. I haven't heard that, expressed that way, but it is so true. I was talking to my dad last night about, that looking for a job, and it's weird, it's oftentimes combined with a lot of feelings of shame of, I don't know what I can contribute. How am I going to about it? And I don't know about how it was for you guys, but for me, it was a very lonely space of, that kind of understanding of what do I even have to contribute? I had like my picture of what I did in my old job, and I had a very hard time of understanding, how could these skills even be relevant or applied in a different way? I really had a total lack of understanding as to what am I even capable of? So the aspect of, how do you force yourself, because I'm just going to use that word force myself, because I'm actually an introvert. So I would hide away. I would like maybe write like 1 or 2 emails, but force myself into networks and like-minded people. And this aspect of how do we find love of, support network that we need as we're trying to discover what we ourselves then have in us that we can give elsewhere and make a contribution.
I'll also add one more point, and especially because we're talking about fear and love, this is another hashtag. I believe in my experience, a lot of times when we are in the space of fear, we're so scared to talk about it. We don't verbalize it, we suppress it. And as a student of psychology, I always believe the moment you release it from your space, it has no energy. So feel comfortable to share it with someone you trust, write about it. If you feel like journaling, that's one thing I've been doing a lot. But I've realized the moment I've released that, it's out of my system. Yeah, of course, it's there. I feel the anxiety sometimes, but I'm not giving it as much energy as I would do to like for my job search, or what do I really want to do next?
Absolutely. And it's then helpful then to be able to push yourself into your brave space. That aspect of like, what's holding me back? Why am I not doing this? So, I joke around that my friend Hung is like constantly trying to make me do videos. So it's like, why am I holding back? So just at times just starting off small and pushing up against your own comfort zone, because then it does become, we're talking a lot about Covey. So it's like, okay, your sphere of influence, but also your sphere of your comfort zone then grows larger because you're practicing, you're getting into that space of, of learning again, where you can then find the excitement. Yep. So one thing I wanted to ask also, Marlene, is out of the perspective of a recruiter, oftentimes, back to the rinse, wash, and repeat what Bridget just said. People look at, okay, well, do you have experience? Do you have applicable experience that I can just really plug and play? And this is where a lot of our job seekers are challenged, where they're like, okay, there's a laundry list of requirements. I don't meet them all. So how do you go about that, saying, okay, I want to tap into your experience, but I also want to tap into your learning agility and what you can bring to this different role? Can you give a little bit of perspective on that one?
No, sure. So as far as, applicable experience and being able to kind of find fit as it relates to maybe you don't have the exact skill set that the job requirements are looking for, I think it's really all about, I hate to simplify it, but ultimately marketing, right? How do you position yourself in your cover letter? How do you network to basically kind of get in the inner circle, perhaps, of the hiring manager? How do you present your resume in a way that it takes, some of the buzzwords or skills that they're looking for and putting them front and center and surrounding them with context so that it basically connects to what their missions are. I think that, working with those 3 things, it really is going to give you the best chance that you can absolutely get.
I love it. No, and I think that's, working with those 3 things will give you the best chance that you're going to get. I love it. We have a question, and I think that goes basically directly to that. Any tips on updating your resume to pivot into L&D coming from a different career field?
Well, it's so funny. So when you think about many of, the people that I know that are in L&D, they didn't start in L&D, right?
Exactly. It's one of the biggest ironies.
They're usually subject matter experts that figure out, or get connected into training people or creating content or doing instructional design, and their careers really evolve from there. So how might you take, transition into L&D? First of all, if you're currently working, get involved in projects internally on how you might, help to train individuals and go a little deeper there. Another thing that I've talked to candidates about in the past, if you have subject matter expertise in specific areas, get involved with your local community college. If you want to learn how to train people, they will give you a chance.
That's a great point.
And also training. There's so many great programs. I mean, locally here, there's some fantastic programs in Massachusetts for instructional design and learning design and things like that, instructional technology. So,
yeah, I love it.
If I could add to that, I would say exactly, Marlene. I know when I was making the career change, I definitely dove into ATD. Someone introduced me to ASTD, is what it was called at the time before the rebranding. And, just was looking there. The first thing I did was take the training certificate course. There was one being hosted locally. Now it doesn't matter, as we know, we're international. You can do things online any day, anytime. But to look at what I was interested in. And then it was sitting down with someone. We have a mentor protege program at my local ATD chapter. And so I signed up for that. And I learned that it was really jargon. It was really, I was doing these things that were, we knew it. When I remember sitting through that training class in San Diego, and I was just kept nodding my head going, I do that. And I do that. I have this huge thick notebook. I still have it actually over here on my desk. I moved recently during COVID. And it was just a matter of learning how to call it something different. Facilitation. I was like, put together workshops. Oh, okay, created and designed, just kind of getting, that change in terminology. And it was so helpful. Now, things didn't happen overnight, but it was just the beginning of me rebranding myself and grooming myself to segue into this new space.
Yeah. So well said. So well said.
Shame on me for not mentioning ATD, by the way. That's bad.
Oh, so you're going to get a couple of plugs. I4CP, GP strategies. We'll get them all in here.
Yeah.
It's just the other half of my life, so.
Too funny. But, and I love it. There's, one of my mentees is actually in the chat, so a huge shout out to her. I met her at the Talent Brand Alliance, and we had a couple of original talks about, what can I, take from talent branding and how can I bring it in then to learning. And like you said, a lot of us do not grow up in learning. I was talent development, and learning was part of my job. I had some of it in my psych program, but it really wasn't my background. But it is that piece. Learning is so broad, and you have to really look at, okay, what are we trying to learn? What are we helping to do in terms of good pedagogy? How are we teaching adults? And it's not necessarily about the tools we use. It's quite often around, how do we approach it, and then have a good understanding as to what tools will help us facilitate what we're trying to accomplish. And so to that point, how do you rebrand some of your skills, or think about them at a different level as to how can this be transferred, or how can this be relevant in a different context, which can be such a boon, because so often, people hire like hires. And so bringing that plurality of thought or background is really, really important, particularly as in learning, as we are going into more ambiguous space, really looking at how are we fostering great teaming. So this aspect of really thinking beyond the borders of traditional learning is really highly helpful to our progression as an industry and a profession.
It's all about the art of the possible.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is about the art of the possible. Yeah. And I think, one of those funny things is that, what were our dreams when we were 9 years old? Okay, how many of those jobs still exist? I used to be want to be one of those cashier people because they had the Visa card machine for the Visa cards. So, you know, dreams change. One thing that comes in as a final question here is, are there any tips on getting apprenticeships when you have no experience? Ah, yes, this is the major conundrum. You've gone to school or you want to do an apprenticeship and they're saying, oh, but you have no experience. Come back when you have experience and we're happy to hire you. So any tips on getting apprenticeships when you have no experience or gaining that?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
I mentioned like community colleges for getting, you know, facilitation experience. I found that, you know, a lot of my candidates have had some luck there. Beyond that, I haven't really had a lot of experience with that, but I'm curious just to hear what the other girls might.
I would also say, like, when I moved to New York, I used to volunteer at the New York Rescue Shelter. And although there I was helping the chef prepare meals, it had nothing to do with training, but I got to network with a few people and they got to know, oh yeah, you know about the DISC certification, for instance. So I actually went down to the Bronx and I did a volunteer session just to talk to some of the youth over there. And again, all these kind of things, you know, spaces where you can network. There are a lot of network communities. Maybe they will give you a platform because they're not necessarily looking for someone who's extremely experienced. So even if you can go there and put, you know, have a 20-minute chat. And again, like I said, it's all about how you position that. Whether it's in your resume, like for me, for instance, like training didn't happen straightforward. I came from retail. I was a store manager. I had no experience in training, moved from one country to another, had to rebrand myself. But one of the things as store manager is I led people. I trained on the job. So I think you always have to look at, we all do things that are somewhere correlated to training. It's how you use those words. So make sure that the verbs that we use in your resume kind of translates into, you know, some of the key job descriptions that you're looking for.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. So well said. Volunteer. There are so many worthy organizations, and then where you really can transfer and you can dig in because they're looking for people to help. So it really is that aspect of how do you think creatively around what are the experiences that you want to have where you can grow. And I think that is really that aspect as we round out then this final kind of statement to say, be brave. Don't just look at rinse, wash, repeat. And we're excited to help you, guide you through the day as you look to your own careers. And thank you for all your comments. Love it. And can't wait to continue to connect with you. So we'll be breaking this session. And then we'll be going into the next session, which is an icebreaker, or you can go and connect at the table. So again, this is a little bit of social time before we then start up with our first session at the top of the hour. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.